I decided to design a writing project to work with my ninth graders. I teach French at the high school, and I found myself sort of stagnating with them in some of the issues and some of the problems they were having with their written French. So I decided to bring what I learned in the Empowerment Institute to my classroom to design a visioning process for the kids in order to give them a perspective on what they were doing, how they were doing it, and how they could maybe do it better. Give them the tools in order to be able to do that. And so this past semester I employed that project in my classroom.
I was around the third generation of teachers who applied, and I created a reason that I wanted to do it, and my reason was to really help my students who have learning disabilities overcome their I can't um, message that kind of is looming in their heads.
So in traditional education, you stand up there and you stand at the board and you do this work and you say to the kids, okay, fill out this page or write this answer or do this homework, and you get it back and then you correct it, and if they don't understand it, maybe you take some time with them or maybe you don't. I mean, and that's what happens. But there's not that conversation about what's not working and what's not working. When you don't understand something and just said it's right or wrong, it's like, well, what don't you understand? If I knew what you didn't understand, I'd have a place to build up from it. So the empowerment model is allowing the kids to look at for them what isn't working and then think about, well, how can I make it work?
I think what I found most impressive is, and it's really become part of my belief now, is that first you have to change yourself. You can't expect to work, for instance, our product are students. And while I don't directly work with students anymore because I'm an administrator, I work with parents who have children who have difficulty because I'm a special ed director. So what I found at first, I had to look inside myself. And before I could actually be more productive and more effective in my job, I had to see who I was within myself, find out what I needed to work on, and then be able to give myself and to my role as a special ed director in a way that was who I really am and who I can help, a person who can help others to go on their journey with their children, or teachers who go on the journey with children.
The basic nuts and bolts of the Institute were very useful in the classroom. For instance, the whole limiting belief turnaround system can really be applied to something as mundane as verb endings, or spelling. One of the overarching principles is that you can develop a vision for what your life or what your work can be, and then you develop a process by which you're going to arrive there. And in education, so often we just tell the kids what they're going to be and what they're going to do and what they're supposed to produce, and we don't give them any input into how to vision. And since these writing projects were creative writing exercises, it seemed to me that giving them the opportunity to write creatively and then to really give them the freedom to run with a vision could only enhance the exercise.
What impressed me most was the way that the activities were developed to really create some very deep thinking so that change could happen, to be very introspective about what needed to be changed and where that could happen. And that's really where, the meat of the program was for me.
Finding what your growing edge is. Where exactly are you willing to go with that? You know that you're not good at math and you're having a hard time with it, but what is it that you can do with that? Where can you move forward with that? The empowerment allows the kids to look at that and do that. And then it allows them to make a statement, the statement that is, if I don't understand something, I can ask for help. I mean, that seems small to us, but to a kid, that is huge. And even though I've been teaching and I try and give that to the kids and I try and work at that, there's some way with the empowerment model that the kids were actually able to see what that help looked like. Not just assume it, but it was more tangible.
Now the children are identifying their growing edges. The children are seeing that they can instead of they can't. And they're learning to be more responsible for their learning. So it's just amazing. I sit there, I get shivers sometimes just hearing the teachers talk about their students, the ones who have been through empowerment training, and to be so positive about them and to see their, to look at their growth, to look at the vision of where they want the child to be instead of looking at their deficit or disability.
Parent-teacher meetings have changed pretty dramatically because of this focus, and again, being totally focused on the student's learning, what the prevailing issues are, creates an opportunity for dialogue with parents because it becomes very clear. I can show Growing Edge notebooks, I can share what students are working on, and the response that I've gotten from parents has been absolutely dramatic because they feel that I, or any teacher who has been trained in empowerment, is so caring about their child, so focused on the success of their son or daughter as though it were our children. So that's how much I care about my students, as though they were my children, and that's how I focus. And parents have been just incredibly supportive. It's a win-win situation in terms of the kids knowing what to do and the parents feeling good about how we're helping their son or daughter and what they can do to support that at home.
Amazingly enough, because the fact that I applied the empowerment model to a concrete set of tasks, I was able to mark those tasks and could see their actual grades go up. So, for instance, in your average creative writing exercise in my class for the 9th grade, they would be given 25 points on a typical composition. Maybe they were only scoring 15s out of 25 until they started to become aware of what they were doing and had a vision for what they wanted to do, and now maybe they're in the low 20s or 22 or 23. There's far less fifth spelling errors, a lot greater agreement of words in the sentence, and just an overall je ne sais quoi in their creativity. They're just presenting a story that's more fun to read, that embraces the topic more, and that they took and had more ownership of, and that also boosts their grade because they're certainly given points for their creativity and their adoption of the task. So, it was certainly concrete.
I think it would have a totally amazing effect on education, much more valuable than probably anything else, because you're really learning about the learning process and how to create a learning environment that works. And it's my opinion that teacher certification programs do not ever speak about this. And it's so important. You really can't teach unless you can figure out how students can learn, how to turn them on to learning, and how to create a situation where students want to learn. They want to. It becomes under their control, and it's not that I want you to learn, I'm telling you what to do. The want to part is coming from the student. So students are becoming, like sponges for knowledge and learning, and it's very powerful, and I would say definitely do it.